As AI continues to transform industries, the real challenge isn't just adopting new technologies, it's reshaping how we think about their role in the workforce. Contrary to the fears of job replacement, Palantir Technologies CEO Alex Karp argues that AI isn't here to take over, it's here to supercharge workers, making their roles more valuable and impactful. But changing this narrative requires more than just technology. It demands addressing public fears, bridging the gap between perception and reality, and showing how AI can empower, not replace, skilled labor. This is exactly what Palantir's new public information campaign, called Working Intelligence, the AI Optimism project, aims to do. Too often, the conversation around AI is dominated by extremes, either fears of massive job loss or blind optimism about its potential. Palantir's approach challenges both, focusing instead on how AI can enhance human ingenuity and create new opportunities. Today, we're joined by Jordan Hirsch, Senior Counselor at Palantir Technologies and a driving force behind the AI Optimism project. We'll explore the inspiration behind this initiative, real-world examples of how AI empowers workers, and the power of storytelling in shifting public perception. Jordan, welcome to the AI+HI project.
Nicole, thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor and a pleasure, and I look forward to the conversation.
Oh, great. Yeah, I'm really excited about this. I feel like you read my diary on what is really important. So let's start with a statement from the AI Optimism project that really caught my eye. You said, or the manifesto said, you're being sold an AI future where you're obsolete or irrelevant. We see it differently. It's opposite the current narratives entirely. How did this point of view come about, and what inspired Palantir to make it more than an internal point of view?
It's a great question. I think it really came from our work on the ground with our partners who are actually in the business of implementing artificial intelligence at the ground level. I think most of the conversation to this point has been dominated by Silicon Valley, which is obviously very important to this revolution, but really in many ways in the clouds and not in contact with how people are using the software, especially in an enterprise context with businesses. And the second is the media. The media has not covered the AI story on the ground at all, from what we could tell. A lot of the stories about AI are at this macro level when they're exploring its effect on the economy at large or doing surveys of 3,000 companies. And very rarely do you see a story from the press of an interview with somebody who's a factory worker who might be using AI, or a nurse or a hospital worker. And so we have the benefit of working in a software business that works exclusively with enterprises, both in the government and in the commercial sector. And so we see what's happening on the ground, and we saw I think we picked up on the disconnect between what's actually happening on the ground and what the story was in terms of the narrative in the media and in Silicon Valley. And we thought that was a shame because there is really a good news story to tell here. And done right, we think AI can really elevate, not eliminate, American workers across a range of different industries. And that's what we're hoping to accomplish through this project, which is really to highlight the stories of people on the ground using AI to become more productive and really free themselves from the shackles of all the data and the barnacles of the data that have sprung up around them over the last 30 years with all of the emails and all of the spreadsheets. And it's taken them away from doing what they love to do, whether that's serving patients or building new things. And that's what our hope is with AI, that done right, it can really liberate people to do the things they love at a much greater capacity than they have been able to in the last 10 to 20 years.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Missing from the narrative is what real people are doing with AI. And the reason why that's important is because when real people read about real people using AI, that's when they think, oh, I could do this too. You know, one of the things that I find is that most media narratives, there's a lot of ambition for the tech. And they're like, oh, this technology is going to do this, and it's going to do this, and it's going to do this. But there's not ambition for people. There's like ambition for tech. Oh, it's going to do this. It's going to take, you'll never have to do that again. But there's not an articulation of an ambition for humans, ambitious for people. And so when I read the manifesto, I thought, this manifesto is ambitious for humans. Is that how you think about it? Did I pick that up correctly?
That's a great way of putting it. We might have to borrow that one from you. Yeah, look, I think human-centric artificial intelligence is not only a moral imperative, but also a technical imperative. And I think that's where the tragedy of the mis-selling of artificial intelligence at this point, you really start to see its effect because we think, based on our experience, large language models don't work without humans at the center. This isn't just a philosophical question. It's really an engineering reality because the real value is not in the tech itself, it's in the humans. It's in the special knowledge that people develop over time as they work in industries and they work with people, they work with customers, they build new things. That kind of that kind of knowledge is not captured by generic large language models. It can't be. It's not meant to. So the real question is, how can you use a large language model to amplify the person with this really specialized knowledge? The mom and pop shop, or the manufacturing facility that's really family run and is having trouble with capacity because it's a pretty small run operation. How do you scale those people and make them not just 2 times more productive, but 50 times more productive? Like that's where the real unlock happens. It's not in replacing, it's in enhancing. And I think the LLM is really just an amplifier, right? Like when you sell it as I think part of the reason why there's so much disenchantment is that there's so much almost religious fervor about artificial general intelligence or maybe even artificial super intelligence. But then what people are experiencing on the ground is like they're working with a chatbot. And that mismatch between what's being sold and what's actually being delivered in most cases is disillusioning. It's really just like I would feel disillusioned. I understand where it's coming from. And I think companies that get this wrong, that try to implement AI as a replacement rather than as an amplifier, will fail catastrophically. I think that's why you're seeing a lot of the early AI implementation not succeed because they're having a powerful technology that's not amplifying anything. It's generating noise instead of signal. Like the real signal comes from the people who are on the ground with the ground level knowledge from their industries, and that's very core to what we're trying to develop with working intelligence to bring that out.
Yeah, because it's like, do email faster is not transformative. That's like, it's like in the manifesto you talk about, like or it was on another essay on the Palantir side. Like we were promised flying cars, and do email faster is not flying cars. But the other thing, there's two things you said. One, I really love the way you said that human-centered AI is actually an engineering reality, because there are people who are calling for human-centered AI, but they don't use that technical reality often in the language. And so I think, one of the sort of like the base case realities of the way that Palantir approaches technology is it's very, very practical. And I think also, like, one of the things that I'm excited people are beginning to understand is that you don't, like, these generic LLMs and these generic, things that people are buying and pulling in, like, you don't get ROI from that. You only get it from when it gets tailored for culture, context, and customers. And that's when, to do that, you have to have the people involved. So, like, I love it. Okay. So one of the things that you said in the manifesto is you talked about sort of like you took on both the doomers and sort of like the utopists and the pacifiers of AI. Can you describe what's the most dangerous aspects of each? Like, what's dangerous about this point of view?
Yeah, I think that both of them are really selling a kind of despair, and that's dangerous. So the doomer view is obvious where the despair is coming from. The despair is coming from the articulation of a viewpoint, which is that first AI is going to kill your job and then it's going to kill you. And obviously, if that's how artificial intelligence is being presented, it's going to scare the bejesus out of people, rightfully. And so the kind of gloominess of that worldview is quite obvious, at first glance. But then I think the pacifiers are almost equally dangerous, if not more so, because what they're basically saying is, don't worry, take your euthanasia pills and enjoy watching Netflix all day while AI does all the job for you. And we think people need purpose and they need meaning in their lives. Nobody just wants to fork over. There's so much more to a job than the paycheck for people. At least and at least that's how it should be. And to present that as a good thing is also going to make people feel more desperate, because nobody wants to live in a future where they don't have to care about what they do. There's dignity in work, and AI should be enhancing the opportunity to acquire that dignity, not eliminating it. And so, what is the danger of despair? There's significant danger in despair. I think despair can lead to two things. It's nihilism and radicalism. And the nihilism is everyone just sort of gives up and nothing matters. And the radicalism is people start to turn against this in a very serious way. You're starting to see this, right? There's the clankers, that there's anti-artificial intelligence movements, and that's a shame, because this has a chance to, you read the headlines these days, and I think there's a big, you almost see the fork in the road coming between breakdowns and breakthroughs. And we're on the verge of a series of unbelievable breakthroughs with artificial intelligence across labor, across science. But if we don't get it right, and we sell it the wrong way, we implement it the wrong way, we're on the verge of a series of pretty significant breakdowns. And we missed the opportunity of combining human ingenuity with this technology to create some real gains for humanity, for our country, and for humanity. So I think both narratives are extremely pernicious, and that's why we're trying to. I think our narrative is really about agency at the end of the day. It's really about how can you take control over this and not succumb to the sense of this big power coming to take over your life that you have no ability to sway. We don't see artificial intelligence that way at all. We think it has to be wielded by human beings, and they have the control. And so that's what we're trying to do is bring out those stories here.
Yeah. So I have spent the last 10 years focused on the intersection between human potential and technology. And so because of that, I work with scientists all over the world and researchers all over the world. I'm actually in San Diego at UCSD at a conference here that's really looking into, how do humans truly flourish? And AI aside, if humans don't have purpose, if they don't have meaning, if they don't have agency, that the like tangible health impact on everything from the microbiome to psychology, it's like it's a real thing. And so I think the stance that you're taking is really important. There's another sentence that I love from the manifesto that kind of speaks to what you just said, was that AI's true power comes not from making everyone the same, but making everyone more of themselves. It shouldn't standardize, it should supercharge. And so I just love that. Can you put a little color on that and then go into some real world examples about how you are achieving this through your technology?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think if you take a step back and you look at like what was globalization, globalization was a flattening effect on the economy. I mean, the whole idea is like, let's chase the lowest common denominator and find the cheapest labor around the world. And in a lot of ways, AI is done right can be the opposite. We think in an AI world, the highest quality workers, the most expensive workers actually become the most valuable because they generate the strongest signal. So what does that mean? And it means like the elite performers, of course, certain kind of like C-suite level, but like much more importantly, it's the blue collar workers who are closest to the problems, who can benefit from AI the most and whom AI can benefit from the most. It's the surgeon who understands the patient subtleties that no protocol can capture, right? It's the welder who knows how humidity affects different materials. It's the analyst who can spot patterns that shouldn't exist. These are the signal generators that make AI work. It's a differentiator above all else. And so, like, I understand the impulse to think, if you're a company, I'm just going to replace with AI. I'm not going to. I'm not going to amplify with AI. I can just automate vast swaths of my operation and take the humans out of the mix. But that's totally wrong from our perspective in terms of how to think about it. Because if AI is a differentiator, you're never going to differentiate that way, right? The differentiator lies in the human beings in the process. It doesn't lie in using generic LLMs. I mean, you're just going to look like every other business then, and um, that it makes much more sense to have people with taste and opinion be amplified. And that's where we think AI can be especially powerful in sectors like manufacturing and skilled labor. because the magic happens on the floor. It's not in the technology. The technology is just there to help them become even more of themselves, as we were saying in the manifesto. And so that's really core to our worldview. I think that's part of the reason why we launched another fellowship, that we have another initiative called the American Tech Fellowship, which is a program to arm American workers with cutting edge artificial intelligence through an 8-week upskilling program on Palantir software. It's us investing in American workers and letting them go back out into the workforce armed with these new abilities. And the initial stories are really encouraging. We're doing multiple cohorts throughout the year. We're just launched our second cohort. We're going to hire some of these fellows. We're going to place some of them with some of our customers. And so this is like, there was a lot of fake upskilling that happened 10 or 15 years ago. This is real. This is actually happening. And people from all over the country are buying into it, because this is where we think all of the innovation is going to happen. It's not going to be in Silicon Valley. It's actually going to be on the ground. It's going to be people on the factory floor who figure out how to use the stuff in the best way. And that's like the beauty of the American spirit. As far as examples of where we're doing this, I think if you look on the Working Intelligence website, you'll already see some of our customers. We'll have more content there soon from other customers, but Trinity Industries is a great example of people being liberated from having to work in spreadsheets all day to actually doing what they love. And let the AI handle the production schedule so that they can focus on creating new things and building new things. In healthcare, Maine Health's Dr. Ed Kimlin, who was at our recent commercial conference, also AIPCon, talked about how AI can help doctors spend so much less time on documentation and more time with patients, and really address the rampant depersonalization and frankly dehumanization of the medical field that's happened over the last 15 or 20 years with the rise of all the documentation requirements. So we're seeing the impact of AI on the ground. I mean, a lot of people think AI and they think computer and dehumanization and everything's going to become a code and technology. It's actually no. You're able to shift all of the attention of an organization from the back office, which is where all the focus has had to be, as all of the administrative burden has added up over the last 15, 20, 30 years, right? And now we can shift it to the front line, right? It's the doctors and nurses can now spend their time, instead of looking over a screen, they can spend their time with the patients, right? And the manufacturing centers, they can spend less time dealing with compliance issues and all of the documentation around compliance and more time focusing on building the product. And that's where actually the ironic thing about this revolution is it can bring the human touch back in a way that we've lost, I think, over the last generation.
Well, and one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is, of course, on that macro level, many people are talking about, U.S. productivity has been declining for some time. And what you just said made me think, well, it's like maybe it's that back office buildup that's really been doing that. But, to dig in a little bit more, are some jobs are going to be replaced. Um, what is the right way to look at that? Like, one of the things that I was thinking is that, and it's what you talked about the a moment ago when you were talking about the breakdowns, is that the new jobs are in the place where humans and AI are doing new things together. And so we have to get to that transition, but there are jobs that are going to be lost. So how should we think about that as it also relates to productivity, and sort of what should our approach be?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's no question that there's going to be some people who eliminate jobs because they don't know what else to do with AI. I think that's a mistake. The better approach in our view is to shift, not to eliminate. I think that's where you're going to see real amplification, because you can take people who have really advanced degrees out of having to spend their time designing Excel sheets for 8 hours a day and into creative, productive, and human-centric areas of the organization. So I think the way we think about it is less of a, look, I think if you're going to have any threat, the threat is probably going to be to what I would call the bureaucracy of any organization. It's the middle layer where they have the least amount of signal. It's not the worker on the ground. It's not the leaders of the company. It's the people in the middle and around which the whole bureaucratic administrative edifice has been built over the last generation. And so I think that the goal should be to like help those people move into the front lines of an organization, wherever they may be, and out of the back office. Which I think you're right. I mean, if you think about our lives since the advent of the internet, most of a lot of our time is spent on administrative work, which I would classify as emailing, filing work, documentation, compliance work, and that is all very important and necessary. But that's where AI can help you because it can reduce the amount of time that you're spending on those things and increase the amount of time that you're spending on actually productive things. So I think if you can amplify the best workers 10x, 100x, like the whole math of the economy changes, right? Productivity, I think, has been dampened because globalization optimized for cost. It didn't optimize for capability. And we shift our capacity overseas chasing pennies while losing dollars in innovation and quality. And like that's where AI can help us turn this whole thing around. So yeah, like there's going to be a shift. Every technological revolution brings a shift. But our hope is that the shift is not elimination, it's more from back to front. And that's really what we're trying to pursue in all of our use cases when we work with our customers.
Jordan, you said a couple of really important things that candidly, I just really haven't heard, often elsewhere. One is that, I mean, we've all thought about, or I won't say well, but many of us have thought about globalization in the way that you said, it was chasing costs, not capabilities. And if we think about AI as supercharging capabilities, then there's a whole new frontier. But the other thing that you said that's important is about, those people in the middle, where do they go? Because right now the message for the people in the middle is you have to learn how to use AI. And then there's either the doomers or the utopist. And people are feeling really frightened. But what you said is you said the middle goes to the front lines. And how do you empower them to do that? And it reminds me of a case that I heard of that was really inspiring where a company, it's a large global fashion brand, and they were going through their customer service. And it was a customer service that they do. It's a high-end private brand where, um, if something breaks, you send it to them, they fix it and send it back to you. Like that's how they think about their customers. But they were bringing in customer service AI to support those people. And of course, those people were worried about their jobs. But the other thing that they did is they gave them access to the full catalog of everything that was coming up. So products that these people didn't even know about because they were only dealing with the tail end of something breaks. How do you get it fixed? This organization turned into a sales organization and drove a dramatic increase in the profitability of this company. And what I love about this example is that was not in the plan. It was just that they also brought this information over while they were, gearing up to potentially automate this department. And these people turned into a sales team. I think that kind of direction, because people are looking for, what do I do? What do I do? I get these calls nonstop. And so I just wanted to reflect back to you those two things that you said. It's like, one, not a lot of people are saying it. And two, people are really hungry for a tangible thing that they can do, especially the people who know that they're in the middle bureaucracy. Okay, so that leads to the next question. Our audience are, they're HR leaders, and they're in the front lines often because across organizations, whether people are bringing in chatbots at scale or anything else, they're in the room. So they're in the room, and a part of the increases in literacy and all of that. And at the same time, many of those tasks are in the middle. So, how can HR professionals, our audience here at SHRM, the people that we believe in and take care of, how should they be thinking about AI and what they can do with it? How do they get to the front lines?
Yeah, it's a great question. When I think of a really great HR experience in any previous job that I've had, it's the human touch that matters the most. And the thing that always bothers people the most in an HR experience is when it feels depersonalized and it feels like that HR people are living in a glass tower somewhere north of where they are in the business, and it's totally inaccessible. And that should really be like the leading front of any organization, to making their employees feel at home and cared for. And I think like any HR professional, this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to release yourself from some of the burdens that you've had with, because there's an enormous amount of paperwork involved in hiring and staffing and all of the things that come with having an employee at a business over a period of time, right? Healthcare, all of that, they're totally essential. But right now, because of the burdens associated with that, both for the HR people and for the employees who roll their eyes at having to fill out yet another form and another thing that they have to do in order to get the basic care for their families, it's all takes the personal out of it. And I think this is a real opportunity for human resources to reconnect with their employees and become the part of the organization that shows that they care, and also not only just care, but like, to go back to the previous thing that we were topic we were discussing, I think one of the beautiful things that could come from this revolution is the unexpected outcomes. There are a lot of really, really talented people who are just in the wrong place right now because they've been forced that way through the current structure of our economy. And I think you'll find a lot of creative people in that middle that we were talking about that would love to be working on other things. And it is the job of the HR people are the people who are going to be able to see that at a global scale, right? They're going to be able to see like, hey, this person is really something. I think they're totally miscast in this role. I think that they're we at Palantir call it a spike. I think their spike is in something totally different within the organization. We should go move them over here. And right now, it's very hard to have the time, the bandwidth, the mental capacity to notice those things and act on them because there's so much other administrative work to deal with that you're just trying to check all the boxes. Let's get past the box checking and get to where we can find the greatest talent and put them where they were always meant to be. I think that's like the real opportunity of this revolution. And I think HR professionals are uniquely placed to both take advantage of it themselves and help the organizations take advantage of it.
Wow. Like help talent to get to where they were always meant to be. Like, right now there's a phenomenon that going on that people are calling quiet quitting, quiet cracking, disengagement is, is a number that people track globally at work. And so it's sort of I think that that's a reflection of maybe people not being where they're meant to be. And so I love that. Um, so I'm just going to add a question that goes on because you said a couple of great things about what HR might be or could be. So, one, it's helping people get to where they were meant to be, um, to bringing back a very strong human touch, so that HR people are actually helping people with their problems and their growth, that get in the way of them, having the agency and empowerment that they need to do at the company so they have purpose, meaning, and progress with the group of people. Do you have any additional things that you've just been musing about, that you would like the HR audience to know? Like other things that might be the future of HR?
Yeah. Look, I think the thing that we've been playing around with in the last couple of days internally is there's the fundamental divide on AI right now is about the question of whether AI is going to replace human beings. And I think like the goal, any HR professional and our goal as a company also is to really uh, not only demonstrate, but manifest the idea that American workers are irreplaceable. They are actually irreplaceable. There is something special about the secret sauce that we have here um, a culture, a business culture, and I see this all the time. I mean, the dynamism of the American economy is unbelievable. It's miraculous, and there's so much despair in other areas of our lives right now that we don't need to get into. But I take a lot of hope from seeing how companies are experimenting with artificial intelligence. They're taking risks. The basic ingenuity of the American worker is astonishing. and really special, something we have to hold on to, and something that we can help concretize and grow through this revolution. And I think that HR professionals have a unique ability to have a say in this and helping it go in the right direction, and really show that that's the case, that we have something special that we can not only hold on to, but cultivate even further. That's the message that I would love to send to HR professionals, that, this isn't, you aren't bystanders here. This is a really important part and facet. It's actually essential. And you guys are on the front lines of being able to make sure that this happens in the right way, and proving that this is the case. And so we're in the fight with you, whatever we can do to help.
Great, great. Well, so for the last part of our discussion, we like to do what we call a rapid fire roundup. And what we do with that is that I'll just ask you some questions, and then you just say the first thing that comes to mind. It'll be very quick. Okay. So one piece of advice to workers worried about AI.
Find the thing you're really good at and apply AI in that area, and you will amplify yourself 100 times over.
What's the word or phrase you would use to describe the future of AI in the workplace?
Hmm. I would say a race to the top.
What's the biggest opportunity AI brings to the workplace?
Elevating, not eliminating humans.
Great. And so that's it for this week's episode. A big thank you to Jordan for sharing your experiences and insights with us. Thanks for joining the conversation, everyone, and we will catch you next time. Did you know our podcast is only one part of the AI+HI project? We also host an annual event featuring visionaries from the worlds of business, tech, and HR. Plus, we publish a weekly newsletter that includes topical articles and the latest research from SHRM, all to help you stay ahead of the trends. To sign up, just make your way to shrm.org/AIHI. And you can also follow SHRM on social media for even more clips and stories. Like, share, and tell us how you're innovating towards a brighter future.
SHRM.